Data analysts do quite a lot of programming and are often unaware of security problems, which they are therefore vulnerable to and don't do mitigating things. So to illustrate an example of this, here is my project Board Game Geek API, and which is about getting stats from Board Game Geek, which are very interesting to us board gamers. In this article, I simply discuss what I'm doing and how to get the data and put it into a spreadsheet. The data comes in XML format, and one uses Python libraries like Beautiful Soup and so on. All very interesting. What I don't discuss in this article is the security mitigations I used. So if we look at the source in GitHub, so here's the project source, we can see that I have in the configuration a couple of mitigations. The first one is that an attacker might realize that a user of this data may be using Excel, for instance, in which case what they can do is insert a formula into the XML data, which will then become active when it's imported into a spreadsheet. That formula could do many dangerous things. So I have a little configuration here, strip formula equals sign for CSV. And that means that any field that has an equal sign at the beginning will have it removed. But that's not the only potential problem. We can also have external entity expansion. This is where a URL is embedded into the XML that goes and fetches something, a package, from an external server that may be an attack. And my Python code uses these configurations to remove these problems. Now, what I would advise is actually using AIs these days to advise you on this topic, because they are absolutely marvelous. So here we have a question about how an attacker could poison the XML using entity type expansion, the various ins and outs of that. And in fact, I think probably in the case of using Beautiful Soup, so long as you're using one of the safer parsers, you don't really need to worry about it. You certainly need to worry about Excel formulas, but it's not the only issue. So I ask, what other security problems affect Beautiful Soup? What about the Puppeteer libraries? Puppeteer is where Chrome is used to web scrape so that a real browser is actually doing the job. And this can be very useful for difficult websites, especially because the JavaScript is actually activated. And that means one can navigate through a JavaScript heavy website that a simpler library like Beautiful Soup wouldn't be able to do. But that also is very dangerous, since the web browser could be hijacked and your data could potentially be compromised. And you can see the AI has gone through a list of possibilities. Having said all of that, I would say that ultimately, if you are isolating your instance of Chrome, if you're using a Docker that has no links to your network or to your local machine, then you should be relatively safe. But I do believe that this is a much neglected topic and needs data analysts to educate themselves, or at least ask an AI what to do about your code. If you like this kind of content, do like the video and subscribe.